On this week's episode, Julian crosses the border.
Josh sets his target.
And Carter switches gears.
Howdy, 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 and welcome to another episode of the DirtInfo podcast. Uh, things look a little bit different. If you notice, Carter's got light shining in the background, so we must be doing something different. Well, we are indeed. We're filming this on a Tuesday afternoon so we could watch the Vikings game. Carter, was that a wise decision on our part?
Um, well, no, but yes, because I loved to just sit through the pain and in silence and sadness all by myself. So, and it went about
Yeah.
as well as expected. I don't know. After the Lions game, I had very low hopes going into the Rams game. So, and
See, that's I was gonna say that's what actually got my hopes up because as a lifelong Vikings fan, I just assumed that everyone's hopes were too low. They had to win a game first to get the hopes back up, just to crush them down harder, and they didn't. But they did the sort of next most Vikingist thing, right? Which was get blown out on national television again.
at least it wasn't a close loss. Those are much worse because then your hopes are really high during the game. My hopes were gone by before halftime even started. So. And if you, I
Fair
just,
enough.
I've gone to the point where I go into every game, no matter who they're playing, assuming they're going to lose. So then when they win, I'm like very happy. And then if they lose, it's like, oh, well, that's what I thought was going to happen. They could have been playing like an 0-16 team or something, 0-17, and I would have been, oh, we're losing this game. So it works out most times.
Uh, I hear it. I hear it. I think I'm on the other side of that now. I'm like a tiny bit indifferent to the result, but like it allows me to just be hopeful that they'll do good. And if they don't, I'm just like, whatever. Like it doesn't ruin my day anymore, but that's in due time. But yeah, it was it was something else. It was a tough pill to swallow, like that fumble or non-fumble, if you will, incomplete pass.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was so nonsense. So nonsense. Um, yeah, my fantasy football group chat was blowing up on that one.
On the bright side, it's only 236 days till our Lord and Savior, JJ McCarthy, rises again and plays football. So that's what I'm looking forward to. That was what I put in my fantasy football group chat. I put it was 237 days yesterday. I said 237 days and he rises, and there's a picture of him. So
Oh my goodness. Fair enough. Well, I think, and then I'll just touch on this and then we'll move on. But like I had Sam Darnold's back, and that's what I get for having Sam Darnold's back. He made a fool of me. I said he was gonna learn from it, and he did not. Those shots every time he 3 and out or whatever, and he just I saw some people comparing him to a robot. I just thought he looked shell shocked. Just like, where am I? What am I doing? Is this the same game we've been playing? It was a bad, bad
yeah,
look.
and a lot of it was his fault, but also not all of it because the O-line interior especially was awful. 9 sacks, can't have that. I thought they were going to get 20
Yeah.
after that first half. They're almost there, but slowed them down a little bit in the second half.
I saw I saw a TikTok right before we recorded this, and it's like the Rams out here doing WWE
Oh
finishers for
yeah, I saw
sacks, and
that.
they're it felt that way. And like, 9 sacks, you said, it probably split them right down the middle. Half were Darnold hanging onto the ball for forever, and half were the O line just getting
Yeah.
shredded. But anyway, we'll move on from that. I just worth mentioning with the bright window in the back. We might as well explain what we're doing and why we're doing it. But anyway, there was actually some big news in the racing world. Uh, this past week since our last episode. The two that jump out to me is that XR announced another big paying show. I think this one's called the XR Dominator. We're going to be at Salina Highbanks for that. It's a 2-day show, so they adjusted the format a bit, and looks like they're doing practice and qualifying on a Friday, and then we're just doing it all, the whole kit and caboodle on a Saturday. Heats, lower features, and then the A mains as well. That one's 100K to win, 200 entries total, and I think last update they were somewhere close to 50 entered as of. So we had mentioned, Julian, you had kind of mentioned it in the Dirt Info dish that like it is a bit of a short notice. I think that might be playing a tiny bit of a part on entries so far, but ultimately I think they'll get pretty close, don't you think?
Yeah, I would assume. I mean, it's $100,000, so I mean, people are gonna, if they can, if they're not tied to a tour, they're gonna make, room in their schedule for that. Admittedly, I don't know a ton about the Salina show. I didn't look into that as much. I believe it pays $25,000 for B mods as well. Is that accurate, Carter? Or am
That's
I
the
off?
big deal.
No, that's the
Oh, I'm
big
off
deal.
on that
Yeah,
one.
I think. Yeah, I think that the takeaways I took was 100K to win, 200 mods. I'm not sure what the sport class is. Didn't even check, but yeah, I mean, I think Salinas is a pretty cool track. I think
Is
from what I've seen, and I think they put on a good show.
is that the track that James McFadden went flying over the edge? Is that the same track? Remember,
Is it there
Ah,
like two like select?
there
There's like
there
two
might be
high
two.
banks named tracks
One,
with high banks. It
yeah,
always gets confusing.
yeah.
There's like one in
I
Oklahoma and one in Kansas.
I think so. I could have sworn that High Limit went there this year. I for some reason it's bleeding in my head, but I really don't know for sure. Um, but either way, I think it's a pretty solid track, and I think they'll put on a good show. I don't know why I say that, but I know I watched a show this year there and was impressed. So I'm just gonna
oh,
run with that. And
there is one in Oklahoma. Which one are
Yeah,
which one are they going
that's
to?
this
that's
is I think it's
that's Kansas.
Salina with no S. So
Yeah,
take that. Yeah.
it's Kansas. I know that. Well, maybe. I don't
No,
know
no,
if I know that. I'm gonna assume I know.
it is the
Anyway,
Oklahoma one.
Oh, is it?
yeah.
Oh, well, that makes more sense then, because Joe Duvall is, I think, helping promote that in conjunction with
Mhm.
XR, and he's obviously from Oklahoma, so that would make more sense. And it's the Oklahoma one.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I'm never gonna complain about a another six-figure payday in the mod world. So thought that was a pretty cool thing to see and definitely look forward to checking that out. And then the one that's a little more near and dear to me, I think we got a bit of an update on the big deal. So we're gonna remain at Ogilvie as expected. We turned it down to a 2-day show again, same format as the one at Highbanks, which is just gonna be 2 days practice qualifying Friday, and then the whole kit and caboodle on Saturday. We're bumping up the payout a little bit, 125K to win. Carter's like, nah, I'm
No,
out of here on that
the
one.
dog.
I'm just giving you a hard time. It's all right. 125,000 to win mod show for that one, and then 25,000 to win for B mods. And then I think if I have these numbers correctly, it's 100 mods and 100 B mods each
Yep.
is capped entries, and I think we're somewhere around 75-ish each as well. So I'm on record. That's my home track. I had expressed, some questions and some concerns when it was first announced. I think this answers a fair bit of them. I was always going to be there if it ran. It appears it is going to run, and I'll be there, and we'll obviously cover it. So I don't think we need to belabor that too much. But those two big shows that now makes 3 six-figure paydays in the mods in
Well,
one calendar year, plus a
unfortunately, the
50K
big
to
deal.
win.
Unfortunately, the big deal is kind of overshadowed because there's maybe even bigger race going on at Kokomo. It's also being promoted by XR, and we know Carter is super excited about it.
Yes, the
What is that?
100,000 to win compacts, which out of the three that Barry announced earlier this week, that one intrigued me the most. One, the track. I like the track over the other two tracks. Just it's smaller. I like small tracks, and I love me some four-cylinder racing. So I stay
You know,
every time for the four cylinders.
the funniest part of it is if you go on, like, after this was announced, if you went on Facebook, there'd be a million posts popping up of guys selling their four cylinders, and they're like, "This is a race winning car, it runs well, or go win yourself 100 grand." And I swear I saw like 5 to 10 of those posts, and it was hilarious. And so I actually got digging, like looking up their results to see if the car was actually fast. Some of them were.
I don't know.
Some folks were telling the truth.
He might have posted the rules, and honestly, if he did, I don't know enough about cars to know him. But I don't know if it's like the like outlaw, like the ones like down south, like those or is it like the ones
I
more?
think I think it's just like the kind of standard ones, not like the outlaw late model
Yeah.
bodied kind of ones.
I don't know. I like them both,
Well,
so
so
I wouldn't have complained either way.
I think it would make
yeah.
more sense if you did like the more normal ones. I think you'd have more cars. I could be wrong.
Yeah, but then like you
That's
look
just,
at like Winter Freeze and stuff, and they get a ton of like compacts for that deal, which another event coming up that I strictly watch for the compacts at Screven, but that's besides the point.
so I guess I got to ask, are you going to this show at Kokomo? Because that
I
would
don't
be, it's
know.
going to be a show.
I don't have anything scheduled out that far yet, so
It's not
it's
that
probably
far.
unlikely, but no, it's 5 hours. I did look. But that at that point I got other stuff going on around here. Like I pretty much know my schedule through like March and April. First weekend of April. After that I can't really plan anything yet. So
What if we
Uh,
weasel your way in there and we get you to cover the race on the ground for Dirt Info? Would you go?
if I get paid.
well,
Barry,
we'll
if you're
work
watching,
on that.
I
not
I
like that.
I will say I will most likely buy XR for that. So unless like I'm going somewhere and I won't be able to watch it for whatever reason, but
It's April, right?
Uh,
yeah. So it depends on weather here. If I'm going to 141 or something, I don't know if I should buy it because I'll have to miss 4 hours of the show. So
I
All right.
mean,
Well,
yeah.
we're
I
gonna.
mean, that's another question too. With April in Indiana. I mean, it's still not gonna be warm, so we don't really. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it'll be warmer wherever than where Carter's at. So the
most
likelihood of
likely,
it getting it will be better. But I think we're gonna poke and prod on that a little bit more. If we can convince Carter to go down to that
I also
race.
also have to drive through Chicago, which I have no interest in doing. That is the one issue. I'd have to take quite the detour to get there.
What if
Well,
we just got on a boat and went right over the lake? Might be quicker.
yeah. Isn't there a ferry? Anyway, moving on. Anyway,
Oh, we
Yeah, I
should
feel like
mention
we have
too
some.
that the one other Barry show, the stock car one, he also announced 100K for stock cars at, is it Sports Park Raceway? It's
Yeah,
in Fort
Fort
Dodge,
Park.
Iowa, I know. Uh,
yeah.
half-mile track. So I don't know much about the track, but it's happening, and I'm not a huge fan of half miles, so hopefully it's still good. But
Should be. I mean, I think they were at a half mile last year, and Ricky Thornton Jr. came from way back, so
it is
it could
stock
still make
cars,
for a good
so
race.
stock cars put
Yeah,
on a good race pretty much everywhere. But I still
that,
think they put on
that
better racing on smaller tracks. So
preach. But moving on. I think there's also some other news, Julian, that you had caught. I think more in the IMCA world.
Yeah, but I do want to take a quick commercial break since we didn't mention this at the beginning. But if you like what you're hearing or watching, drop a like, comment, subscription on YouTube. We're also on Spotify and now Apple. If you didn't see the news last week, that's big news for us. We're on Apple and also Facebook as well. So back from commercial break. Before I get into the IMCA news, we talked about last week in my one for the road, the Bangor Civil War over in the UK, the North versus the South. Carter and I took the North. Josh took the South, and the North actually won. Uh, and
history always
this
repeats
is highly
itself.
controversial if you read on any Facebook comments or anything related to this with scoring. But apparently, it came down to the last corner when there was one Southern car in the very last demo derby, and he all he had to do was like cross the line, but he started going after the Northern cars, and they stopped him, and the North won I think by like 25 points or 50 points. So big dub for the North. I don't know.
Respect for putting on a show, though. Respect for putting on a show. He could have just took the W, but he went for to put on the show. He paid the price, but respect for it. I like it.
Yeah, he lost, but valiant effort, kind of like Briggs Danner last night. Hell of a show, but he was upside down.
Yeah. Yeah.
He'll bounce back. But anyway, yeah. Moving on from the Bangor world, there is some IMCA news we wanted to touch on. A couple schedules got released, and we're going to throw up a graphic over here with the schedule. The Dakota Classic Mod Tour schedule was released. and I have it right here. I think it's 6 dates, and kind of I don't think there's any new tracks on there. Kind of your normal schedule up in North Dakota, South Dakota area. Estevan up at their lone date up in Canada. That actually looks like a really cool track, and I'd love to get to
Mhm.
Estevan one day.
Yeah.
And then we also have the South Texas IMCA Modified series, which is, I believe, the only IMCA Modified tour in Texas. And a lot of those same drivers will be running the upcoming 10,000 to win IMCA Modified race that's being put on by Stephen Whitaker. I believe it's coming up in about 2 weeks. Can't remember which track. I don't remember if it's South
I-37,
Texas Race Ranch,
I-37 Speedway.
I
The
37
yeah.
Speedway. Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
actually looking here. It's the second date on their schedule and the second to last date on their schedule as well. So, um, yeah, so check out that race. I think it's going
Heck
to be
yeah.
streamed on Race On, and then I think they also stream the rest of the South Texas IMC Modified
Right
series.
on. Right on. Always good to, find more series and stuff to follow along. Honestly, doing this show, I think we find ourselves digging up more and more interesting stuff. So, but I didn't realize the Dakota Mod Tour is like its own little hell week. It's just straight through day after day after day. That when I was like, dang, they don't get one rest day or travel day. They just go, 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 go. That's pretty awesome. So,
That's a lot
I
of
was aware of
distance
them
up there.
before.
That's a
What's that?
lot of distance up there. It's not like Illinois and Missouri and things like that where everything's relatively close. I mean, I mean, you're
Yeah.
driving all over the Dakotas up to just across the border there in Estevan. But
Yeah. I was gonna
it's a,
say two countries.
yeah,
Not even. It's an international series. but
and I believe it's
but
the
anyway.
36th or 39th annual Mod Dakota Classic Mod Tour. So
Right on, right on. Well, with that, I mean, let's talk about some actual racing because we do got some of that going on, or did have some of that going on as well. But let's start with I think the bigger headline show for us, which was the Wild West Shootout. Julian, I don't want to belabor the results or anything. Just kind of what did you see? Anything stick out to you? Anyone impress? Anyone you have questions about? Fire some thoughts at us.
I think there's a ton to talk about, honestly. So I guess something that we really pumped up last week was how Cade Dillard's going to be the guy to beat. And
Hmm.
I mean, really through no fault of his own, it turned out not to be. He had that tire come off the bead or something, I
Hmm.
believe, and then he blew up. I think he started back and like deep in the field, he drove up to the top five and then blew up.
Damn.
So the real story ended up coming out to be Kyle Strickler, who we talked about, and then
Hmm.
Dustin Sorensen, who we didn't really realize was actually going to bring a mod in the first
Yeah.
place, and the former USMTS national champion
Heck
was
yeah.
lying, and so is Strickler, who it seems like is going to be pushed towards running the USMTS this year. There were questions last week, and it seems like maybe he's going to do it.
Oh, I
And
so hope so. I so hope so.
I think I talked about this in the DirtInfo dish this week. But I
Yeah.
mean, Kyle Strickler on tour is going to be fireworks, especially with guys like Jim Chisholm. I don't know if Joe Chisholm's running it. Maybe Tyler
Joe
Davis,
Mine.
all those guys.
Yeah. Rodney
That's
Sanders,
and
uh,
then
Terry Phillips. Anyway.
and yeah, and just sticking with mods. Somebody else we talked about Gary Christian, or I pumped up Gary Christian, and he finished 30 points actually, above Cade Dillard. So you had three CDR cars in the top five,
Yeah,
and
that's actually so one of the points that I kind of was going to bring up as well. So I think kind of bringing it all together a little bit. Cade wasn't quite as dominant as we had anticipated, to your point. But the CDR cars were pretty dominant. And so, I maybe it's just Josh making things up in his head. But one thing I left was is it really did seem like he was very focused on his customers running well. I think a little bit, to his own detriment, maybe. Or it could have just been circumstances. Either way, we're used to him driving up to the front or just dominating everyone. And aside from night one, he didn't do that. So uh, it was a thought I left with. Speaking of CDR cars, another one for me too. Um, Joey Thomas was in a CDR car, or Joseph Thomas, I believe. Um, but he was in a CDR car, which I think is actually a Tim Thomas owned car. And the best I could tell is Tim Thomas is a Wasota driver out of Casino Speedway or somewhere there in South Dakota. Um, and so that's not Joseph Thomas's normal ride. I have no reason to believe he's not also in the Ryan Torbison ride as well, but he was fast. This was USRA. I want to know if he was in a Wasota setup or a USRA setup, truthfully.
He was
But
really, really fast, and he was really impressed. I mean, he finished third on the final night. Inside, he missed one feature. I don't remember what happened on the. I think it was Friday. Um, but I
I
mean,
didn't.
he
I missed it. I was at
finished
a
in third. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah. And then the one night they don't do the podium interviews is the final night when he finishes on the podium. I'm like, I can't wait to hear this interview. And then nothing. I was like, come on. But yeah. So I think, all of the CDR cars are really fast. Joseph Thomas was super fast. Strickler won the points title if we hadn't mentioned that. And yeah, if he's on the tour, I'm gonna go to so many more USMTS races if he's on tour. Like I'm telling you, we're going to become best friends. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. One of you two is going to be off the podcast. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I
um,
mean, that's the mod. I mean, we talked about the modifieds there. There's so much to
yeah.
talk about. There's so much to talk about with the X mods too. I mean, Rob Mosley really put the smackdown. He had never won a Wild West Shootout feature, and he was the only one to win four. He joined Chris
Yeah.
Jackson, who I learned is the cousin of Tony Jackson Jr. Didn't know that.
Hmm.
Thanks to the broadcast. But four wins, never out of the top 10. In that top 10, I think he drove from like a B main or something like
Way
that.
back. Yeah.
And
Yep.
then
Yep.
second in points after his disastrous year last year, Scott Vince.
Mm-hmm.
Never second in points, three top fives, never out of the top 10. That's a hell of a rebound. And he said it's his comeback year. And
Yeah.
I kind of believe it. I mean, that was a stout B mod field. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of the local New Mexico guys, those guys are tough.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he to never be out of the top 10, a bunch of top fives. I mean, in second place to Christy Barnett one night, like just at the front constantly and consistently. Um, you know, we had mentioned we are on the hype train. I think we are decidedly on the hype train. So, as we go through that, that's one thing I noticed. We kind of get favorites or we pick favorites or stories develop. So I presume we'll be getting more continued Scott Binns updates. And I think he'll be racing in a couple of weeks, so even better. Um, so yeah, that was Rob Mosley. I mean, a killer on the mic too. If you were going to pick a winner, you'd be picking him because it was fireworks on the track and then afterwards as well. So that was pretty neat to see. Um, I think one of the guys local to me, Nate Ranke, had an interesting second weekend. I think one night ended up on the lid and then came back to a sixth and a 10th the second two nights. So that's pretty cool. That's definitely a Wasota driver. I've seen him race a boatload. So it was good to see him. I think he missed only one feature and he had a fourth, a sixth, a 10th. So he ran pretty well. I presume he'll be racing either next week or in a couple of weeks as well too. Um, so yeah, that's one guy I didn't mention last episode that I want to mention was Chad Fouquet. So I had the opportunity to meet Chad when Devin Fouquet was the DirtInfo hard charger at the Granite City Open. Great dude, had a good conversation, really enjoyed it. But he was gone on the wheel. I think he was only raced one race at Wild West Shootout, which was first night, but came through a B main and was well up into the top 10, potentially even into the top 5 before car gave out, and he was wheeling her. So that was pretty neat and remiss I didn't mention it last time. So um I think the
You,
one in go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I was gonna chime in real quick. I know we're a modified podcast, but if we didn't mention a little bit of the late model stuff that happened there, I just want to give a quick shout out to the Oregon drivers that outperformed all expectations, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Colin Weinberger, who I believe also runs IMCA Modifieds up in Oregon and Washington area, and
I believe
he
so, yeah.
was lightning quick. Like he led a lot of I don't remember which race, but he led a lot of that one, and then
Mhm.
charged through the pack on the final night, and that 50
God.
lapper just blew all
Mhm.
these doors off. I mean, that's impressive. And then other guys like Bryson James, Preston Luckman, ironically didn't have much luck. Um,
Yeah.
but,
The
but
Whistlers.
really good. Yeah,
Yeah.
Whistler, he
The
was really fast.
Yeah. Yeah, that was they definitely showed out. That was one of the cooler storylines. I that's part of the reason I think I like the Wild West Shootout is you get some of the big names, but then you get I think a lot of the guys we don't see on the regular basis, and it's nice to see them go out and watch them really compete and show their mettle and stuff. So that's always cool too. And I love the shine on the mods and the X mods too. So um
And
cool event.
I, and you mentioned we don't get to see these guys a lot, and this kind of we talked about this before, where there's so much winter racing going on. And I saw a discussion on Twitter between Michael Rigsby and some fans about how the fans are saying they barely watched this year because they're burnt out. I mean, I know Carter is in full football season up here, and I
That
know
that
he's a
pretty much
little,
just ended, so
yeah, just like
I'll
Yeah,
watch the play.
he's
he's
got
I'll
some
working out
free
the usual.
time
I'll
now.
watch the playoffs still, but my my care on who wins is now gone, so
So you're back in racing mode though. But like I mean I think
somewhat.
it is easy to get burnt out with so much racing going on, especially if you're streaming it. Especially if you're like me and you have 5 screens going on every night and you're clicking between 30 different tracks.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but I mean it just raises kind of a valid point, and I'm just wondering, is the Wild West Shootout going to change going forward? Because you did mention, we're going to, evaluate this moving forward. I mean, so I hope it continues because I like seeing these Oregon drivers and some of the other random Wissota guys. Jake Neal also had a solid weekend in the late model. I wasn't really familiar with him, but our friend Brad said he is a former USMTS winner. So
Yeah, I
there's
believe
a lot
so.
of
Yeah.
back to that.
Yeah, I think I could have swore I saw this past year that he was like developing and racing a modified as well too. So looks like he picked up the Al Humphreys ride and he's gonna be in that this year. So pretty cool too. But yeah, I don't know. I've been burnt out pretty much since the dome, and I think I just get a little taste here and there. I definitely like I've been keeping abreast. Highlight videos are awesome. MRP is awesome. You guys are awesome. Like, I think that's one of the nice things about the Discord server, honestly, is that we have each other to kind of fill each other in. So even like Friday, I was out and about, uh, and I missed all of the racing, but I was able to check in on the server when I got home. I kind of knew everything was going on and I knew the storylines and, you know, catch highlight videos or watch it back if I need to. But I think it lessens some of the burden. So that's how I've been kind of dealing with that as well. But
I think the
yeah,
Wild West Shootout was in a good spot until like Lucas moved everything like earlier in the year. Like now there's like we said it's like a two. I mean, it got with rain and stuff. Lucas got postponed a little bit, but still like there used to be like
hmm
almost a month. I feel like after the Wild West Shootout until Speed Week started. Now Speed Weeks were supposed to start like 3 days later. So
Yeah,
that
and I know Nick
yeah.
Hoffman actually chimed in and responded. I don't know if it was to Rigsby or not, but he said he's like, it's not that I don't want to run, but I'm just burnt out. I
hmm
want to spend some time doing some other things like that. So
yeah,
Yeah.
I saw that. I think it was him too that said the Chili Bowl is kind of his like
yeah,
where he
yeah,
just
he did say.
goes to that's like his fun time where he's not taking
hmm
it
And
super serious and stuff.
unfortunately, he didn't have much fun last night. That
No,
was,
I saw
and he was
that.
on my dirt draft team, so that was rough.
So, all right. Well, fair enough. I hope it continues. I hope the schedule plays out differently next year too. And then also, if us as race fans are feeling burnt out, can you imagine how the guys doing it are feeling? So I feel that concern a ton. But talking about some guys who aren't feeling quite as burnt out, we still got the IMCA Winter Nationals going on. Week in the books. I think we got one more firing up again this week. As far as I'll pitch it the same way, but this one I'm going to pitch to Carter. So Carter, anything you see, hear, read about, anything going on over at the IMCA Winter Nationals that's catching your attention, or you want to talk about, or someone you want to fluff up?
Yeah, the point. So Ethan Braxma and Chaz Baca are tied right now, but Chaz Baca missed a feature and is still tied for the points lead. Like he's been 2 seconds in a first and then missed the feature. So that's how good he's been. And Braxton's been good too. But obviously, if Baca made that one other feature, he would have been the clear leader. So he's been pretty much not dominating in wins, but consistency. He's right there. Um, and then Brandon Beckendorf is fourth, Jeremy Mills fourth, and Strand. Is it Sean Strand? Forgot his first name now.
I
Yeah,
think so.
is
Yep.
fifth.
Yep.
And Beckendorf is only 4 back, who's a Minnesota guy, so you should be rooting for him, Josh.
Always rooting.
And then someone that's not really running, I don't think as well as he usually does, is Colin Hibden. And we talked a lot about him. And I actually saw that he was helping set up Matt Crafton's stock car modified. So that was interesting. But I know he has a lot of things going on with the chassis and the shocks and everything. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it or just dumb luck.
Yeah.
Dylan Thornton's also seventh in points at a rate with him. Ricky Alvarado, I think, picked up the last feature last week.
Our
Yep.
TikTok friend. That's our TikTok friend, Julian, Ricky Alvarado.
We love Ricky Alvarado. Some of the Colorado guys are super underrated, and I was actually
You did
bumping
mention
Eddie
him.
Bellick. He's not been having a fantastic run.
Yeah, you mentioned both Eddie Bellick and Ricky Alvarado last episode, so credit where credit's due. We do kind of know a little bit of something, and he picked up a dub, so that was cool.
Yeah.
I do want to add too, there's a few more guys. I know of one for sure, but I saw some like stock cars and stuff. There's more guys showing up for this week, and then I don't know if they're staying for the early Mincy, but one guy that is showing up this week is Tom Barry Jr. So,
Nice.
or is
I
that
hope he
next
brings him
week?
on
That might
too.
be next week. Either way, he's showing up eventually. Might be the 22nd.
All right.
Oh yeah, it's next week. My bad. But either way,
Oh,
but there is guys. I'm sure there'll be other guys showing up. I know I saw some stock car guys, um, who are bigger names that are going down there this week. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a few more guys. Also, can the car count for the mods was crazy. 80, I think it was 80 plus every single night. I think 85 might have been the high. I was not expecting. I don't know how many they normally get. I didn't look at last year, but 80 mods is insane. So
I
yeah.
was I was shocked by that. I was like, I didn't think they were gonna get that. I thought maybe like 50 or something, but 80? That's crazy. And
Yeah.
then I think a lot of B mods as well too. I think 40 to
50-ish.
50.
yeah,
50-ish, and same with stock cars too. I looked at it because I wanted to research a driver I've seen drive a bunch. They're down there running, and I wanted to see how they were doing, and decided to look at entries. And yeah, 80-ish for mods each night, give or take one or two here or there, and then 50-ish each for sport mods and stock cars. So
pretty
that's
much
a big turnout.
pretty much every class. I mean, the sport compacts were like below 20 every night, but other than that, even the hobby stocks were high 30s every night. So
Heck
every
yeah,
class showed out with a ton of cars. So
And
heck yeah.
the sport mod points leader is actually from one of the more obscure Wisconsin tracks. Dustin White from Eagle River. Is it Raceway, Carter?
um, Eagle River
Or
something. I've been
Raceway?
there.
Eagle
I
River,
They
Eagle
run, I
River
think,
works.
a
I always
Tuesday or
call it
a
Eagle
Friday.
River. They run Eagle River Speedway. Yeah, they run Tuesdays most nights. They have a couple Saturday shows, but Tuesdays pretty much weekly. And he runs out there and they don't get a ton of cars, but they got a few guys that are pretty decent, that come down to like 141 and stuff on Saturdays, and he's one of them. And he's always usually around the top 10 at 141, which is probably the best talent like in my area, especially in
Hey,
sport
help,
mods. So
guys, help us. His name, please.
Dustin White, sorry.
Thank you. You might have said that, Julian, but I lost it. So,
I
um,
definitely said that, but
okay, thank you.
we'll plug him again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Dustin
I'm over
White.
here going, what's this guy's name again? So I figure if I'm doing it, the viewers are too.
I mean, he has a 1 point lead right now over Ryan Peary, who is one of the top. I think he's dabbling in sport mods and things, or stock cars too, but top sport mod guy out of the Northern California. And then also Gabriel DeChamp from North Dakota, who is really strong on the Dakota Classic stock cars. And I think he runs up at Esteban and stuff as well. So he's really tough. And then Taylor Cool is, I believe, in fifth too. So I mean, there's some roll top drivers he's holding off. So I think consistency is the key for this. Don't miss
Who
a feature like Baca did.
It was funny on the first
or
day
B
of
Chaz Baca.
the first day at Central Arizona, it said Dustin White and it said from Texas. And I texted Ryan, my friend Ryan, who you guys know is from here as well. And I was like, what are the chances there's a guy named Dustin White in a sport mod number 73 that isn't the one from us? And then we did some more digging and we were like, okay, it's a My Race Pass issue or something because there's not a random guy from Texas that matches completely to our Dustin White. So they ended up fixing that the next day, but I thought that was kind of funny. And now he's leading points. So
Look at you actually claiming an IMCA driver this time. So we've got a minor improvement.
they're all IMCA down there.
I know. Just a callback to the Blake Adams discussion a couple of weeks ago. Um, but but yeah, I mean, you guys have the points in front of you. So I'm going to mention two Wasota drivers that are down there that I checked on. I had mentioned one before, Devin Fouquet. Or as when they solicited nicknames, I dubbed it Young Monet. Anyway, I digress. Anyway, made all four features with 80 cars, so that's pretty dang impressive. All four features. We've got a 12th, 22nd, 28th, and a 14th. So that was the Dirt Info hard charger at the Granite City Open. So another guy that I obviously check in on from time to time because I get a chance to meet him, and he's a great dude, great guy. And so yeah, that's how I get my favorites sometimes. They talk to me. Anyway, and then Caden Woody is down there in a sport mod and a stock car, and looks like I think made all 8 features and a best of 8th in a sport mod on the first night, and or no, I lied, 3rd in a sport mod on the second night and 4th in a stock car on the third night. So definitely wheeling the car. And then one last thing to tie a thread back to some stuff Julie and we talked about last week. Jake Smith did go wheel the sport mod, and I think he's having some success. Yeah,
Uh,
He won.
I'm not.
he won. That was
He
the
did
that
win.
was the
Okay.
pitch. He won. Yeah,
And also a
he
second
won on a
place.
Saturday. Yeah,
And
yeah,
he won win and I think another top five on top of that, and it looks like
yeah.
A
maybe
win, a,
another top 10.
a win, a second, and then a 23rd and a 27th. So he either is right there for the win or way in the back due
Way in
to
the
it
back.
might be issues or whatever, not because he's driving bad,
Yeah.
but
I know they were dealing with a lot of wind down there on the track. I think I can't remember if it was Colin Hibden or somebody that mentioned on Facebook, but I know it's been really windy in the Southwest, as you could see at Vado, which geographically isn't too far from Central Arizona. And so, I mean, that plays havoc on tracks, obviously. And I think there was some rubber one night. Or
and they start so early too, with how many
yes, they
cars
do.
they got. I
Mhm,
think it's what
mhm.
3:30 their time, 4:30, 3 o'clock. I don't know, something like that. It's early, still sunlight out, which is never great for a racetrack, especially in the desert. So
It happens. I mean, desert racing, it's just kind of part of the process. But
they also had rain
yeah, I
one
mean,
day too, which is funny considering they're in Arizona. I think someone was like, it hasn't
Yeah,
rained in forever, and then I think it was the first night they had a rain delay. I was like, then of course first race decides to rain on us. So
and then we
yeah,
got snowed out at Vado. So,
right.
yeah.
but it is New Mexico. That's actually normal for New Mexico. So,
Yeah. Well, joys and adventures of winter racing in the southwest. But um, so anyway, the Winter Nationals continues again this week. So we're gonna have another handful of races coming up this weekend. And then I think that same facility kicks off the Earl Mincy the week after. And then next week too, we also have the UMP Florida Speed Weeks firing up. I think Ocala into Volusia a second time. So 3 weeks of that. We had already started doing some preliminary research, so we intend probably next week to bring a little bit more of a breakdown on who's there, who we expect to run well, that kind of thing. So that should be fun. Um, but yeah, with that, I think we mostly are wrapping up everything we had planned to discuss, and I think that means it is Carter time for
The one for the road, right? Okay, yes.
yeah,
You
yeah.
took I thought I said the wrong thing. So mine is this is a little bit older news. It's from early January, but Hawkeye Downs Speedway in Iowa, which is like the only like asphalt track, not counting like NASCAR places, I think. Is that right, Julian? Yeah.
Yeah.
They're putting dirt down at I think I saw the dates. Um, it's October for sure. I think I can't find it now. And I think one weekend in September, the last weekend of September, and then all throughout October, they're gonna run some dirt races. And they said they're just gonna run like a mix of classes. They don't know what what's running what week yet, but like they said, late models, sprint cars. I'm sure IMCA stuff will be there. So that is something I'm keeping my eye on because I might. It's only 5 hours from me, so I might go there, but we'll see. There's some other racing in Iowa too that I might end up going to. And they said they're putting on the quarter mile, not the half mile, so that's also a plus.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't think you'd be half as excited if they put it on the half mile, huh?
No, I would not be planning to go if they put it on the half mile.
You should just keep it asphalt.
Right on.
Well, the
Yeah.
half
Well,
mile is
even just
So
asphalt. They can do both.
hey,
half and half.
they have enough.
One.
Hawkeye Downs, I think, has a few more bigger races than usual this year, at least on the asphalt side. I think I know the Midwest Tour has gone there before, I think, but they're going back. I think maybe the Big 8 series, could be wrong there. But I know there's a couple big events there, plus they're dirt. So I know they kind of struggle with car count on the asphalt side on a weekly basis. But it'd be cool. It's good to see maybe some bigger shine with the dirt side of things coming to Hawkeye Downs.
They have a few guys there
Yeah.
too that run dirt, that run there. Like I think they have a sport mod, some sort of. I saw a picture of a sport mod going around there. So they have some guys that run dirt that have experience there, just not on the dirt version of Hawkeye Downs. So
It'd be interesting.
Right on. Well, I think I'll go next. So my one for the road is I saw, well, we saw, but I'm going to deliver, that Michael Leach announced that he's going late model racing. I think the press release said Lowenbro Motorsports and Longhorn Factory Team. So that's a good deal to link up with the Longhorn Factory Team. I think it had mentioned pick and choose some national dates and then maybe some regional dates. Um, Interestingly enough, I remember watching Michael Leach race a late model at the Toplish Nationals in 2023, and the car kind of stuck out to me. And then last year he started the season in Volusia, which I was like, whoa. And then he just kind of stayed on the road. I think I saw him at the Big Deal as well. It's just one of those stories. I was like, I thought that guy lived in Montana. Apparently, that's where he's from. He's no longer there. I think he's in North Carolina. Um, but this is neat. Someone I've seen race before they were kind of getting this shine. So that's something I'm going to keep an eye on. But I figured it was kind of a cool little story to develop kind of right as we were going to film, and it has some connection to me. So that's
Yeah,
kind of my
and
one for the road.
he did
yeah,
he
he's
did
a
a.
obviously.
Go ahead,
I was just
Julian.
gonna, I was just gonna say he's obviously a big modified guy. He's driven the Longhorn factory car at the modified.
Mhm.
And then he down in East Bay for the Winter Nationals last year, he won Thursday and Friday features back to back. So, that's coming up. I'm assuming he'll probably be down there in a modified. Could be wrong, but my assumption.
No, I mean, no, I think he said he's going to start the season with Lucas
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
he's
in
going
the
to
late
Golden
model.
Isles. Yep.
Yep.
And he did some late
Yep.
model stuff last year, around like the South, like Cherokee area, Fayetteville, and all that.
Hmm.
But yeah, he didn't do like he wasn't running it weekly. He still was running mods a good amount last year. Um,
Hmm.
Actually, he started the season off in Kokopah for the IMCA Winter Nationals last year. I didn't realize that, but
A
so
little bit
was
of everywhere.
but yeah, so
So
he has some late model experience. I'm curious to see. I assume it'll be more full time this year based off his posts. So
I would presume we might not see him much in a mod.
no, maybe just
The
some of
regional,
those 100K stuff. You might see him in one, but other than that,
yeah, I imagine that's probably going to still be on the schedule for sure, especially if he's, teamed up with the factory team on the late model side as well too. So yeah, so pretty neat thing. Another thing to keep an eye on here. So, but Julian, that leaves us with you.
Yeah, and so I'm actually going to talk about my one for the road is going to be about the points leader at the IMCA Winter Nationals in stock cars, Shelby Williams. I came across an article today, outsidegroup.com by Mike Otiskovich. And I asked my buddy Aaron Creed how to pronounce that. I think I'm correct. But he's a pretty famous writer in short track racing, from what I've gathered. And so Shelby Williams, back in 2019, apparently had a deal, according to the article, to race for B&B Racing Chassis. And so he was starting to build his own stock car at the time, but he shelved that. And then at the end of this year, in December, he brought that car back out. So he fully built his own chassis for stock cars, IMCA stock cars, took it to South Texas Race Ranch, won, I think, I don't know if there's a prelim feature or just 2 races, but he won both, according to my race pass. And then he took it out to the IMCA Winter Nationals at Central Arizona. And he's obviously leading the points, so it's working pretty well for him. And, harking back to the Dakota Classic Tour, he ran that in the stock car portion, and he finished, I believe, 3rd in points. And the overall points was that won by another Texan, Cameron Starry. So, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. It's always interesting when somebody builds their own chassis. And it's a one, I think we'll put a link to the article in the description to the video here, so you can read it for yourself. But I believe he said he's not going to build more of these. It's just kind of a one-off chassis for himself, kind of like like a pure steel. So be interesting.
Well,
to see.
that might change if he keeps running as well as he is. So if I understand that correctly, what you're saying is he grabbed the one off the shelf, blew some dust off of it, finished putting it together, and he's just that's impressive. That's impressive.
And
technically that's 5-year-old technology, right? I mean, air quotes, but
well, it does say here that I think he had to change some like weight things like that, since
probably it wasn't legal anymore. Some of the things he might have. I mean, rules change all the time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't think it really says how far along they got, but I mean, it had to be relatively far. It'd be interesting. It doesn't really say why. I'm assuming he's not running for the B&B chassis. Admittedly, I'm not knowledgeable about that chassis.
Well, yeah,
but
yeah. I don't know. Cool story though, right? Like just a guy making his own stuff and go out and whooping butt. You don't see that a lot anymore. So always cool when you do. But with that, I think that will wrap up our episode. I want to thank everyone again for watching us and listen to us. Yep. And to reiterate Julian's commercial break, like, follow, subscribe, tell your grandma. We are available just about anywhere you can find a podcast. So Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube. We're on Facebook as well. If you want to watch our pretty faces, or YouTube, you can watch them as well. Just you can find us anywhere if you want to. So share it to those you think might enjoy it. And we look forward to chatting with you all again next week. Thank you much.